This is the deity we call upon for matters of the heart in Chinese mythology, known as Yue Lao, the god of marriage. Hello, I'm Yue, and I'm on a quest to uncover all the mystical threads that weave through Chinese folklore and mythology.
And one of those threads, quite literally, pertains to love and marriage, or as we like to call it in China, the red thread of fate. Now, as someone who's spent more hours than I care to admit poring over ancient texts and listening to my grandmother's tales, I think I'm qualified to talk about this.
So, let's embark on a journey into the realm of Yue Lao, the old man under the moon, and see how he's been playing Cupid for centuries. You know, when I first started delving into Chinese mythology, the one thing that always fascinated me was how intricately our ancestors had woven the concept of fate into every aspect of life, especially love.
I mean, have you ever tried to understand why you're drawn to someone?
It's a mystery, right?
Now imagine there's a celestial being out there, meticulously connecting people with invisible red threads.
Not so mysterious anymore, but infinitely more romantic.
So, let me tell you about Yue Lao, our cosmic matchmaker. He's not your typical love god with a bow and arrow. No, Yue Lao is more like that wise old grandfather who knows everyone's business and has a knack for bringing the right people together.
Picture this, an elderly man with a flowing white beard, carrying a walking stick in one hand and a book of marriages in the other.
Oh, and don't forget the pouch of red threads hanging from his belt. That's his most important tool. Now, you might be wondering, Mia, how did this charming old man become such a big deal in Chinese culture? Well, it all started way back in the Tang dynasty, around the 7th century.
There was this story, the fixed marriage shop, that really put Yue Lao on the map.
Imagine a young scholar named Wei Gu strolling under the moonlight when he encounters an old man casually flipping through a big red book. Curious, Wei Gu asks what he's reading. The old man, our Yue Lao, tells him it's the book of marriages for all the people in the world. Talk about a heavy read. But here's where it gets interesting.
Yue Lao tells Wei Gu that he's destined to marry a certain woman, but she's only 3 years old at the time. Wei Gu, understandably freaked out, tries to have the girl killed.
But fate, as orchestrated by Yue Lao, has other plans.
Years later, Wei Gu ends up marrying a beautiful young woman who surprise turns out to be that same girl, now grown up and bearing a scar from the failed assassination attempt.
It's like a soap opera, but with divine intervention.
This story really struck a chord with people. It spoke to this deep-seated belief that our romantic destinies are predetermined, that there's someone out there for everyone, connected by an invisible red thread.
It's a comforting thought, isn't it? That no matter how messy or complicated life gets, true love will find its way to you.
As time went on,
Yue Lao's popularity grew.
By the Song dynasty, he wasn't just a character in a story anymore.
He had become a full-fledged deity, with temples dedicated to him and everything. People would go to these temples to pray for love, for a good marriage, or to resolve conflicts in their relationships.
It's like he became the celestial relationship counselor we never knew we needed.
But let's talk about the red thread for a moment. It's not just any old piece of string. In Chinese culture, red is the color of joy, prosperity, and good fortune.
So this red thread that Yue Lao uses to connect people,
it's like a promise of happiness. The idea is that once Yue Lao ties two people together with this thread, nothing can break it.
Not time, not distance, not even the people themselves. It's a beautiful metaphor for the enduring nature of true love.
And it's not just about romantic love either. The red thread can connect all sorts of relationships, friends, family, even business partners.
It's about the meaningful connections we make throughout our lives. I remember my grandmother telling me, Mia, every person you meet, every friend you make, they're all connected to you by Yue Lao's red thread. Some threads are short, bringing people close to you. Others are long and tangled, but they're still there, waiting to be discovered.
Now, you might be thinking, that's all very poetic, Mia. But what does Yue Lao mean for people today?
Well, let me tell you, he's still very much a part of Chinese culture.
During the Qixi festival, which is kind of like Chinese Valentine's Day, young people still visit Yue Lao temples to pray for love. They write their wishes on red ribbons and tie them to tree branches, hoping Yue Lao will hear their pleas and work his magic.
But it's not just about traditional practices.
Yue Lao has adapted to the modern world too.
You know those dating apps everyone's using these days? In a way, they're like a digital version of Yue Lao's book of marriages.
Swiping right, That's basically asking Yue Lao to tie your red thread to someone else's. Of course, I'm not sure the old man would approve of some of the messages people send on these apps. But hey, times change.
Yue Lao has even made his way into pop culture.
There are TV shows, movies, and books that feature him as a character. Sometimes he's portrayed as a mischievous matchmaker, other times as a wise old sage guiding young lovers.
It's fascinating to see how this ancient deity has been reimagined for modern audiences.
But at its core, the story of Yue Lao and the red thread of fate is about hope. In a world that can often feel chaotic and unpredictable, it's comforting to believe that there's a plan for us, that we're not alone in our search for love and connection.
It's a reminder that sometimes we need to have faith and patience. Your other half is out there, connected to you by an unbreakable red thread, making their way to you.
So, the next time you're feeling lonely or discouraged in your love life, remember old Yue Lao.
Picture him up there in the night sky, carefully consulting his book of marriages, ready to give that red thread a little tug and bring you closer to your destiny. Who knows? Your soulmate might be just around the corner, guided by an invisible red thread. That's all for today's journey into Chinese mythology. I hope you've enjoyed learning about Yue Lao and the red thread of fate as much as I've enjoyed sharing it with you.
If you have any stories about fated encounters or mysterious connections in your own life, I'd love to hear them in the comments.
And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more tales from the rich tapestry of Chinese folklore. Until next time, may Yue Lao smile upon you, and may your red threads lead you to happiness. Goodbye.